January 1999. In remote Texas woods, a young woman lies dead. Torn pantyhose tied around her neck. It's the tragic end to a 3-week search for 19-year-old college student Melissa Trotter. This man is found guilty of her murder, electrician Larry Swearingen. He sits on death row. From day one, Larry has claimed his innocence. He says the facts prove he could not have done it. Some forensic evidence seems to back him up, but a lot of circumstantial evidence points to his guilt. This is truly a confounding case. Is an innocent man going to die while the real killer remains free? I'm going behind the walls of the Polinsky unit in West Livingstone, Texas, to try to find the truth. I'm Candice DeLong. As an FBI agent, I worked on the front line for the world's most powerful law enforcement agency. I went undercover, I trailed terrorists, and I interviewed notorious killers. It's my job to understand the people who others cannot comprehend. When 19-year-old student Melissa Trotter vanishes from her college campus on Tuesday, December 8th, 1998, everyone suspects foul play. Prime suspect is 27-year-old Larry Swearingen. He says he was having an affair with Melissa behind his wife's back. He was also one of the last people to see Melissa alive. And he has a history of violence towards women. Larry was on bond for traffic warrants, so police pull him in and lock him up. He says he knows nothing about Melissa's disappearance and waits in jail. Then, 22 days later, Melissa's strangled body is found in the woods outside Houston. In June 2000, Larry is convicted of kidnapping, rape, and murder. A jury takes less than 3 hours to find him guilty and sentences him to death. But questions remain. DNA found under Melissa's fingernails is not Larry's. And the state of Melissa's body suggests she could have been murdered at the same time Larry was sitting in county jail. Experts line up on both sides, for and against Larry Swearingen. During his 13 years on death row, he's seen 4 execution dates come and go.
The name of this show is Facing Evil.
Yeah.
What evil have you faced?
4 execution dates. I lost my dad. I lost my friend Melissa. You know, it's a lot to bear.
No little boy ever thinks he's going to be spending his life in prison, let alone death row.
My dad died when my biological dad was killed in a motorcycle wreck, so...
How old were you when that happened?
9.5. I hadn't even turned 10 yet.
Larry feels his father's loss to this day. His mother remarried, and Larry had a good relationship with his stepfather. He started his own married life as a teenager.
You got married kind of young?
Junior in high school.
Very young.
Yes. We lasted for about 3 years. Her adultery and my temper didn't go hand in hand. You know, I caught her cheating a couple times and I beat her. You know, it wasn't like I went around, hey, look, let's go out, you know, and just beat your ass or something. It wasn't like that. But I did, you know, my first wife, we did have a very volatile relationship.
During his trial, several women came forward testifying Larry raped and abused them. They painted a picture of a violent man.
Did you ever, besides your first wife, which you've shared with me, beat up or rape any woman?
No. No. I mean, it's in Texas, if you're convicted of a sex crime, you're a sex offender. There's no two ways about it. Had I been convicted or even, any of that, I'd have been on the registered sex offender. I'm not.
Despite these claims, Larry seems to have no trouble finding girlfriends or wives. By age 27, he's on to his second marriage and second child. And he is seeing other women.
How many girls were you seeing?
Let's see, there was Melissa, and then a girl from the Coast Guard, so 4 or 5. There was a girl with DPS as well.
So 4 or 5, and you're married.
Yes.
That's pretty risky lifestyle,
Yeah.
some would say.
You could say that, yeah. I loved my wife, but I wasn't content.
Larry is not shy about his sexual conquests. That's interesting. It could be because he's not that troubled by infidelity, and he wants to show me that his affair with Melissa was no big deal, that he had no motive to kill her.
How did you first meet Melissa Trotter?
At a boat launch. I was 27. She's 18, 19, and hit it off, and, went from there.
You were married at the time, so seeing Melissa was extra, right?
It wasn't boyfriend, girlfriend kind of thing. It was, without sounding rude, casual, I guess.
Casual affair?
Yeah.
Relationship?
Friends with benefits.
When was the first time Melissa was at your trailer?
I don't remember. It wasn't very long. My wife, she was gone doing something, and we come back. It wasn't one time, maybe twice. It wasn't very often, because we just moved into the trailer. Most of the time, it was in the back of the truck or something like that.
So you were intimate more than once?
Yeah.
But only one time at your trailer?
I don't know if we were intimate at my trailer. I know she'd come over, but I don't remember if we were intimate or not. It's been a while.
Larry's uncertainty is not helping him. He should remember where they were intimate. He's also remaining quietly conversational with me, almost emotionless. Is he trying to show me he's not a violent man? Or is this simply the mark of a sociopath? Tuesday, December 8th, 1998, the day Melissa Trotter is last seen alive. Larry goes to Melissa's college, but he says not to see her.
I was collecting money from work that I did from one of the police officers that was there. That was why I was there. Melissa was just a chance meeting. It wasn't like, hey, look, I'll meet you there.
You were seen speaking to each other?
I admitted, I took the stand and told him that. She was seen leaving the cafe, or the ELC building. And it's like I told him, I left her there with 2 individuals. When I left...
Did you know who those individuals were?
Larry insists that he leaves Melissa on campus. But prosecutors contend Larry takes Melissa back to his trailer. Melissa's brand of cigarettes are found there.
Her brand of cigarettes and her lighter, or at least 2 items meeting that description, were
found in the garbage.
And were attributed to being her property.
Well, the DNA on the cigarette butts are not hers.
What about the pack of cigarettes and the lighter?
That's what I'm saying. The DNA is on all that. None of that belongs to her. My ex-wife smoked, and she was trying to keep it a secret.
Larry's wife admits the cigarettes are hers. Melissa goes missing later that day, and Larry becomes the prime suspect when investigators find his phone number in Melissa's room.
Why were the police so high on you?
My past history. They already knew, hey, look, I've got a violent past, and here it is, here's a missing person. So 2 and 2, we get 5. It gives them, hey, look, he makes a good suspect. I did. But making a good suspect and being guilty are just 2 separate things.
Houston, Texas. When 19-year-old student Melissa Trotter goes missing in the winter of 1998, Larry Swearingen is the prime suspect. Police don't yet have a body, so they find another way to put Larry behind bars.
Did they tell you why you were being arrested?
I was being arrested on the pretext of traffic warrants. I was out on bond, so they called the bonding agency and said, hey, look, we need to keep him in jail. So they pulled my bonds. After that, they raised them to $1.5 million to keep me in jail.
And that was your first clue?
Well, that was my first clue when they started asking me questions. Hey, look, what was you doing this day?
Larry is showing some emotion now. He's angry at what he says is injustice. 25 days after Melissa goes missing and 22 days after Larry is arrested and jailed, Melissa's body is found in the Sam Houston National Forest. At trial, the prosecution claims Larry kidnapped Melissa on campus.
What's the matter?
What are you doing?
And took her back to his trailer, where he raped and then strangled her with a cut-off pantyhose leg. Then he dumped her body deep in the woods. The prosecution's case rests on strong circumstantial evidence. Among other things, Melissa's hair and fibers from her clothing were found in his truck. And the other half of the murder weapon, a pair of pantyhose, were found near Larry's trailer. Larry contests the pantyhose. He says they were planted. They have never been DNA tested.
I'm saying there's going to be DNA from whomever touched those hose on there. Test it. And then if there's any other touching, who that DNA belongs to is the one who put that crap there in my house. It's that simple.
Larry is charged with kidnapping, rape, and murder. And then he does some things you would not expect of an innocent man.
You did a couple of things when you were in jail to help yourself that ended up not.
No, it bit me in the butt.
Tell me about what those were.
Well, I wrote a Spanish letter
And what was the purpose?
to make the attorneys do their job, to hire the investigator, which he says he did, but he never hired.
Larry writes a hoax letter in Spanish to his own attorneys, pretending to be the real killer. In it, he describes details from the crime scene photos, which his defense team had access to. Details only the killer could know. But he's caught.
All it did was the police got a wind of it, run up there with a search warrant, took it from the attorney's office, and then used it against me.
Along with the fake letter, there are allegations that Larry asked an ex-girlfriend to cover for him.
Did you ask someone to provide an alibi?
The police said I did. The only thing I told her is I wanted her help calling different lawyers and all, things of that nature. They went and told her husband she was up there seeing me, and it caused a bunch of crap.
So did she testify that you asked her for an alibi?
Yes, she said I wrote it on a piece of paper and held it up to the window. I can't take nothing to visitation.
Why would she do that?
Her husband, it's one of the girls I was seeing. Her husband was told she was up there.
So much of Larry's behavior can be seen as the desperate acts of a guilty man. But then there's the strange case of Melissa's personal papers appearing near Larry's parents' house.
All I know is it was after my arrest that these things start showing up. And, I couldn't have done it. There was 3 trash days after her disappearance, 2 after my arrest, and it wasn't there.
It's astounding to think that a piece of evidence connecting a murdered girl would show up weeks later outside your parents' home,
After
and
my
here
arrest.
you are sitting in jail.
Melissa's autopsy comes up with even more puzzling evidence. There's blood found under her fingernails.
What we do know is forensic that has been collected. Blood scraping under her fingernails was DNA tested and was not you.
No, it come back as a profile belonging to a male, and it's unknown to everybody in this case, including myself.
The medical examiner had an unusual explanation for how it got there.
She testified that blood floated through the morgue's air conditioning system and landed under the fingernails, and that's how the male blood become in there.
There's another unexplained piece of forensics, a mysterious male pubic hair found on Melissa.
It was collected during autopsy, and it's since been lost. The district attorney's office has lost that.
It may have been lost, but the DNA testing report still exists.
It still exists. It's not.
And that wasn't you.
No.
To date, the owner of the blood and the hair remains a mystery.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
Eventually that DNA is going to pop up, and whether I'm still alive or not, what are you going to do then? Or you can't bring me back. You can't give me back to my wife and kids. You can't give me back to my mom or anything like that. So whomever it belongs to, I hope he's having a good life, because karma's it's going to bite him in the ass. It's that simple.
That's not the only scientific evidence shifting the scales in Larry's favor. The date of Melissa's death does not add up. Larry Swearingen is on death row for the abduction, rape, and murder of Melissa Trotter. Key to Larry's conviction back in 2000 was the medical examiner's testimony. She said Melissa's body decomposition showed she had been dead for 25 days. Larry's defense team says she died much later.
I saw crime scene photographs.
Yes.
One of the things that struck me was that her body looked rather pristine. Her clothes looked rather pristine for a body that was supposedly out in the elements for almost a month.
The man who found it described it. He thought it was a mannequin.
Thought it was a mannequin.
Yeah.
In 2009, 9 years after Larry was convicted, several forensic experts submit that the time of death was only 10 days, meaning Melissa was still alive when Larry was behind bars.
They've all said that this person was dead no more than about 10 days.
But she was missing for 30. That means she was somewhere for 20 days
She
and
was,
then
she
murdered.
was somewhere, yes.
This is the most baffling aspect of the case for me. Both sides argue a vastly different time of death. One proves Larry is innocent, the other points to his guilt. Larry's attorneys are pressing for further DNA testing from the crime scene, hoping to clear their client.
And I've been asking since 2004 for DNA testing on, you know, the underwear, all these, just different items.
And is anything being done?
The DA says he's in favor of it, we're in favor of it, but so
nothing's
far,
being
nothing,
done.
So far, nothing has been done.
This case is heartbreaking to Melissa's family, too. They have no doubt that Larry Swearingen killed Melissa, and they need justice for their daughter.
I want you to imagine that I'm Melissa's family. They believe you killed their daughter.
Yeah,
What would you like to say?
Demand the truth. Demand to see what they're hiding. Instead of looking for revenge through the judicial system, make the state show you what they have. Make them show what they have not given you.
Larry, did you kill Melissa?
No,
Do you know who killed Melissa?
I wish I did, because somebody'd be knocking on their door.
If you were released, would society be safe from you?
Yeah, I mean, they were never in danger with me to start with.
According to Larry, he's sitting on death row due to a mistake he made earlier in his life. He's admitted to me that he's no angel, but does that make him a killer?
Would women be safe from you?
Yeah. I mean, it's, if you condemn somebody from, you know, early on in their life, then what are we as a society? You know, we all make mistakes, but in this place, you learn to reflect. You learn to look at things in the right perspective.
The jury found Larry Swearingen guilty of this crime. But part of me can't help but look at the evidence and see some of it just doesn't add up. Larry is due to be executed at a date to be determined by the state. Perhaps the DNA evidence in this case should get one last chance of review.